After the hecticness of Mosport, the team showed up at Barber expecting more of the same. Qualifying proved that true as Dan Rash took pole with Kimmo Suominen completing the front row. In ST class, it was also more of the usual suspects with James Stevenson on top and Dexter Castro beside him in second. At the green, it only took until turn 2 for the snaky Alabama road course to claim its first victims in Chad Peterson and Russell Clayson. Up front, it looked like Kimmo and Dan were set to run a race of their own yet again, but the embarrassing mistake of not switching out his qualifying setup for his race setup left Dan Rash with a lot of ground to gain. Meanwhile in ST, it looked like a similar situation, but Dexter Castro slipped a wheel into the grass and just barely escaped the pit wall on lap 6. Though the racing was close, the first caution didn't appear until 20 minutes in, when multiple situations came together and resulted in Ray Prado stranded on the backstretch. The yellow was right on the cusp of the pit window, which led to drivers such as Eric Biggs, Dexter Castro, Steve Brown, and German Afanador all taking a gamble with a stop. After the restart, impatience was rampant, with Overgaard, Chan, and Brown all falling victim to the chrome horn. Incredibly, the racing still stayed green through all of it. At about the halfway point, Rash and Kimmo took their planned pit stops, and thanks to the earlier caution, Dan was still in contention. But the surprise of the day was Steve Brown, who despite his previous contact, had cycled into the lead through the pit stops. But when Suominen caught the American with only 24 minutes left, an over-optimistic pass sent Kimmo into the grass and Brown into the pits. Dan was poised perfectly to capitalize on the scuffle and duly held first all the way to the checkers. Kimmo followed the blue and white Mustang home in second, while Todd Honzarenko took his first series podium in third, just barely beating out Patrick Bieri to the line. In ST, strategy had also worked Biggs up to the lead by a large margin. The laps nervously ticked down as everyone watched to see if Eric could make it on fuel, but with only 5 minutes left, he ducked into the pits for a splash and dash. Though Stevenson went on to take his second win in a row, Biggs held on for third behind Castro in second. As always with racing, the drivers cannot dwell on the past too long, and today they move forward to Road Atlanta for round 4. I'm your host, Joe Peak. With me in the booth is Richard Losper and Kevin Brown. Richard, we've seen lots of ups and downs already this season, and it seems like we keep going to tracks that do the same with their elevation.
You are absolutely right there, Joe. Just like Barber and Mosport, perhaps even more so. Road Atlanta is absolutely full of rolling hills and blind crests. It's only got 12 corners over 2.5 miles, but it is a very technical track. Turn 3 especially is notorious for catching out even the best drivers, including Dan Rash last season, as you remember. The S's are flat out, certainly in the MX-5, but require just the right line or you will lose a lot of speed. And then of course there's the backstretch that leads all the way downhill into that slow chicane at 10A and 10B. That straightaway is so long, you're going to see some of the guys using the draft more as if it's a roval. As always, Kevin, it'll be a 90-minute race, so we are looking for the guys who can stay out of trouble to rise to the top.
Richard, staying out of trouble could be difficult today. The run onto the long back straight is key for staying in the draft, and it's the approach into the best overtaking opportunity on the track. But for me, the story today, it's all about attrition and aggression. So far this season, we've seen a lot of aggressive action making and mostly breaking drivers' races. Last season's race at Road Atlanta featured some of the most aggressive pass attempts that we saw all season long. And with the Georgia clay ready to suck drivers into the wall for the smallest of mistakes, will we see drivers prefer a cautious approach and try to bring their car home to the finish? Or with a third of the season gone, will drivers throw caution to the wind and attack?
Yeah, is it better to tread lightly, or do they go for broke and risk a grill full of Georgia mud? So the big question is, who's going to be left wallowing in it, and who will be visiting victory lane? We'll find out today as we watch the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series live on the Global Sim Racing Channel.